Today's session, we're going to be having Mr. Yahya Bako Galadima. He's an achiever, a coach, a speaker, and a certified management trainer. He's a team builder with excellent experience and skills to acquire set goals. So, Mr. Yahya, over to you. You can share your slide and then continue with your presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Sheon Justin. Good afternoon, everyone. It is indeed an honor for me to be the facilitator in this training session. I so wish that others could come up so I could also learn from their experiences. And then I was meant to be the first speaker, and it's just an honor. Good afternoon, each and every one of you. This training is unique in the sense that we are not seeing each other physically. I said that on Monday during the
Kindly unmute yourself. I just muted everyone. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, you can go on, sir.
Just as I said, it's an honor to be the first facilitator in the 2021 Youth Civic Engagement Program, Leadership Training of Leadtots and Human Development Services. I said on Monday at the course of the opening ceremony that this is a unique training in the sense that we will not be opportune to see each other physically. This is the new normal. And as human beings and leaders that are evolving, we have to make do with what we have. I hope and pray that in no distant time we'll get to see ourselves and encourage ourselves, even as we conduct a physical meeting. Just as he said, my name is Yahya Bako Galadima, a team member in Leadtots and Human Development Services. Sharon, I've been trying to share the slides, and it's showing me host disabled participant screen sharing. Could you enable me to share the slides? Now, today we'll be talking about intentional living. Intentional living. I so wish that there would be a moment for interaction for us to be able to at least share based on our own understanding what the term intentional living is. Intentional living. I know that it could mean 1,000 things to 1,000 people, but the term intentional living, what comes to your mind the moment that word intentional living is mentioned? Time will not permit us to answer that. But we happen to be in a generation where people desire greatness. People want to solve a lot of problems in life. People desire bodies that are healthy and fit. People desire to wake up someday and become rich without working for it. We tend to see life that we fantasize about either on the screen of our televisions, from football stars, from movie stars, from people around us. We tend to think as if it is something that will just come out of the blues, and then we discover that we're successful. We desire success, but when it comes to working towards achieving that, a lot of us are found wanting in that aspect. There are countless number of materials you can glean on the internet that could push you towards becoming the ideal person you desire to be. But the major challenge we are facing in this age is the discipline to follow through. It's so easy to sit down and give theories on X, Y, Z, but when it comes to implementation and following through, it's always a problem. Now, your brightest life just as it's stated, doesn't land on your lap. Your brightest life doesn't land on your lap. You have to go out and get it. Whatever you desire, it doesn't come out automatically. That you wake up in a single day and you discover that that which you desire to have, it's there. But you have to be the one to work towards getting it. Intentional living. Now, at the end of this session, participants will be able to define intentional living, to list the steps towards intentional living, and also define some concepts which has to do with the models of reality that is designed, the Newtonian concept and the quantum model of reality. At the end of this session, these are the specific objectives that we should be able to do. Sorry, I'm trying to put the...
It's at the left corner. Have you seen it from beginning? Click from beginning. Or from current slide. Have you seen it? Under.
Oh, yeah.
Under file.
Uh-huh.
Yes, from current slide. Yes.
Yes, I've seen it.
Okay.
So, thank you.
You're welcome.
These are the objectives. I said at the end of the session, participants will be able to define intentional living and also list the steps towards intentional living and define some models of reality or concepts which are known as Newtonian and quantum concept of reality. Now, what is intentional living? Now, I define intentional living as any lifestyle based on an individual or group's conscious attempt to live according to their values and belief. What this definition is saying is that it's not a straight jacket definition that if Mr. A desire this to be his ideal self and he's working towards building and developing that, Mr. B can automatically copy and paste that and call it intentional living. What, in a nutshell, I mean is that supposing you desire to be a medical doctor and somebody desires to be an architect, what these two students would be studying and working towards are quite different. For a medical doctor, his
I guess it's network. Okay, sorry, I guess Mr. Haya had a network challenge. That's a challenge we're experiencing. The network seems to be unstable, and we have been able to check before now to ensure that his network is using a more reliable network. Or you can imagine the network we're relying on also failing. So just give him a while. I believe he's coming back shortly. Thank you.
Hello? I said, once again, I said these values can include the lifestyle based on our religious, political, or ethical values, as well as for self-improvement. Some of those things that you work intentionally towards developing has to do with the values that are enshrined in the faith we profess in terms of religion, or in the political parties we belong, or rather in some of the ethics and values that we hold dear to ourselves, which is a way of trying to improve ourselves.
Just click the arrow next, the next
Okay.
arrow. I mean, you can touch it on your keyboard.
It's freezing.
Okay, use your keyboard.
Oh, no. I also said further definition. Intentional living is making conscious choices every day to bring about the outcomes and feelings you desire in your life. Now, look at the words conscious effort. It is not something that happens as a result of an external force. You're not being reacting to what is happening around your environment. You are making deliberate and conscious choice in order to bring about the feelings you desire. You're not being moved by the wind. You don't belong to what others could call the wind direction, but you mount on the steering wheel of your life in order to drive it and take yourself to the place you want to be. Simply put, it's living a life on purpose. Somebody was quoted saying, life without a purpose is worse than death, which means if you're not living according to the purpose of your life, a dead man is better than you. All of us are originally designed and wired by the Creator to fulfill something in our lives. It is the same thing with what we have, the gadgets in our houses, what we use in life, they are all fashioned and designed for a specific task or purpose. Nobody would want to go to the market and buy a television that would want to be giving him audio without video. That means the aim of manufacturing the television is defeated. Now, it's also the same thing with intentional living. It's simply put as living a life on purpose. Introduction. Now, once the term intentional living is mentioned, the first thing you need to do is to examine your why. Why am I on earth? Why am I a student? Why do I belong to a political party? Why am I a member of this club or association or group? Why am I studying in this particular institution? Why am I involved in this business? Now, the questions go on and on and on. But you need to, first of all, for you to live life intentionally, to sit down and examine your why in life. What is my purpose on earth? What am I here for? Unless you sit down to begin to ask these questions, you would not live life with intentionality. Now, why are your friends your friends? Do you just go out and meet anybody on the street and you begin to call him a friend? What are some of the values you desire to see in the people you call your friends? Why are they your friends? Are they just your friends because they are the people around? Or do you make careful selection before you could call somebody your friend, before you could confide in somebody? Why are you working hard? Now, there are countless number of persons that saw the invite on Facebook and other social media platforms for them to be enrolled for this training. Others chose not to do that. There are countless number of persons that has the resources to start the business you're doing, and they are not doing that. There are countless number of persons that are intellectually sound that could gain admission into tertiary institutions and study and become something. They are not doing that. Why are you working hard in life? Why are you pressing to become something in life? Why did you choose to wear the clothes you're wearing? I don't want to believe all of us that are attending this training are wearing the clothes we're wearing because we don't have an option. Most of us make careful choices out of the number of clothes we have in our closets, and we chose to wear what we're wearing today. Why did you choose that? Is it just at random? You close your eyes and stretch forth your hands and then pick anything from the closet to use? Is that the reason? Why did you choose to attend this training? Why? Now, all these are some of the questions that you need to sit down and begin to ask yourself as you work towards living life with intentionality. Why did you choose to attend this? There are countless number of courses online, some local, some international or foreign, yet you chose to enroll in this. Newtonian versus quantum. Now, I said from the beginning at the course of sharing the objective for this training, that we'll be talking about Newtonian and the quantum model of reality, which is a concept built over time. The Newtonian model is equally called linear model of reality. Linear model of reality. Now, in this model of reality, it is saying that external circumstance affects your personal reality. Now, which is saying that is you don't have to be intentional. Whatever happens to you externally controls your behavior, controls your thinking, controls your values, which means, as the saying goes, when you go to Rome, do as the Romans do. Now, the number of friends I happen to find myself are friends that spend the entire day drinking. I don't have a choice rather than to go with them. Another person could say the group of friends I have are people that spend most of their day smoking. In view of that, I don't have an option rather than to turn out as a chain smoker. External circumstance, what is happening around you? One rapper in those days could say the media is made up of dirty street, just like the media. Whenever you see that is making headlines in the media is what is found in our own communities, in the society. Now, the Newtonian model is also saying it's all about cause and effect. It is also tagged as a mechanical concept of reality. Mechanical, which means it has to be like that. It is designed and wired in this format. You don't have a choice rather than to go through the motions, as Americans could say. You have no cause but to react to the external world. You don't have a cause. You cannot carve something and say, this is what I desire to be. This is how I want to live my life, but you have to. Now, on the flip side of it, a sharp contrast to the Newtonian model of reality is the quantum model of reality. Now, and the quantum model of reality is saying that your personality, your thoughts, your emotions, your choices, your behaviors and habits affect your personal reality. Now, which I would gladly say that this is in line with intentional living. It's saying that your thought as a person, the emotions you have, the choices you make, each and every day in every turn of our life, we're left with countless choices. And you are the Lord and architect of your life that could decide what you want to do with it. what the quantum model of reality is saying that all those things sum up together affect your personal reality. Now, the quantum model of reality is saying that you can be intentional with the way you choose to think, feel, or act, which means you don't react to what is happening. Even if the whole world is saying that this is how it ought to be, because of the values you have as a person and the desire for you to live life intentionally, you are not going to react like that. I have seen people that are trying to live a healthy life, whereby no matter how hungry they are, there are some certain kind of food they will not eat because they want to achieve something. They could be as hungry as anything, but they don't dare eat something because they have chosen that this is how they want to live their lives. Now, the quantum model of reality is saying that when this is practiced over time, consistently, will reshape your personal reality. It is a known fact that whatever you do consistently becomes you. Once you continue to do something over time, it will become you. John Maxwell could say talent is not enough, which means you could be talented in a particular field. If you don't work towards improving yourself with intentionality, you will, at the end of the day, be overtaken by somebody that is not talented in that particular field. Now, you need to consistently practice some of those things you desire to see as part of your own ideal self. Questions to ask yourself. So what habits could you practice in order to feel more intentional with your time, your focus, and your choices? Now, what are some of the things you desire to see in life? What are those things that you value, that you intentionally want to work towards that? Now, if you have chosen something to do, I am a leader that desire to achieve peace in my community. What do you do? Which means everything around you would be working towards actualizing the peace you desire to see in your community. You do it with intention. So much so that even if you're the type that is hot-tempered, in the midst of daunting challenges or in the midst of serious provocation, you tell yourself that I desire to be a role model of somebody that would be having a room to accommodate the shortcomings of others. You do it with intentionality. I desire to be a successful businessman. How do you do that? Now, you can't be a businessman that would be spending the profits and the capital as well. Every businessman should have a plan towards how he spends the profit of his business. If your desire to go into business, you need to sit down and design how you want it to be. For me, maybe you could say, I am a footballer. Now, you can't be a footballer or choose to, maybe your desire is to be an international footballer. You can't have this desire that you want to be an international footballer and be doing things that would be opposite of what footballers do. That is why people would sit down and watch those that are successful in a particular field. What are some of the habits they have? What are some of the things they do, the choices they make? What are some of the things they focus on? You need to ask yourself these things in order to do what? To live life with intentionality. Which daily routine could you introduce into your life now to live more intentionally? What are some of the things you do? What are some of the things you need to introduce to live life with intentionality? Unless you do that, you would continue to allow the currents and tides of time to continue to toss you to and fro. How would your days look like once you live more intentionally? What are some of the things you desire to see? How will it look like? How will this day that I would call a perfect day, an ideal day for myself, how would it look like? How am I working towards actualizing that? How would you feel once you decide to create more and interact less? Create more and interact less. How will you feel? So that you sit down and you begin to think, how do I create this environment that would spur me towards becoming the person I desire to be, rather than interacting more. Now, I said intentional living has to do with what you have in the inside agreeing with what is found on the outside. You cannot lay claim to the fact that you are A from the inside, and then what you do on the outside does not tally with what you profess to be. A typical example, maybe you are an athlete and you are saying that you're training yourself for a major competition. And all of us know that doing drugs is also against being a sportsman. It is unethical, unlawful for somebody that does drug to be involved in any major competition, particularly when it comes to international competitions. Now, you can't tell yourself that I'm planning to future in the next Olympic, and then all you need to do is to be taking enhancement drugs in order to be able to give yourself a boost towards doing that. Now, if you are saying that this is who you are from the inside, it should also agree with what you are from the outside. If you are laying claim to the fact that you are a peace ambassador, in the way you relate with people around you, the peace from the inside should also be seen with in the way you relate with people. I said it is identifying what values are important to you in life and finding ways to prioritize them. What are some of the things you value? What are some of the things you value? How do you prioritize them? Placing them according to scale of reference and knowing how to address them. This quote by Ralph Mattson is saying the quality of your commitment determines the course of your life. Now, as I said from the beginning, it is not something that comes out of the blue. Intentional living has to do with the conscious effort, deliberate effort, the discipline you subject yourself to towards becoming the ideal person you desire. I said it is not about having anything figured out. Now, just as I said, just as we mount the staircase without seeing the end of the building, that is the same thing with intentional living. I also liken it to traveling in the night, even if it is in the daytime. For example, you might be in Jos wanting to travel to Bauchi, or in Gombe wanting to come to Bauchi, or maybe in Jos trying to travel to Abuja. No matter how an expert you are in driving, you could only see some meters further from where your car is. But you keep driving, knowing fully well that you get to Jos. The same thing with driving in the night. You might only be able to see as further as your headlights could flash, but yet you continue driving, knowing fully well that you will get to your destination. All I'm saying is that it's not all about having XYZ figured out in such a way that you sit down and you have all things planned out. Now, it's possible that at the cost of implementation, whatever plans you must have made might suffer some setbacks. But what I'm saying in essence is that you have to continue anyway. It is not all about seeing the end from the beginning. You might see the end from the beginning, but how you get to the end might be subjected to a lot of fine-tuning as you go through life on a daily basis. But it means having a purpose behind your action. That whatever action you do as somebody that wants to live intentionally, there must be a reason behind your why. I said from the beginning, you need to examine your why. Why am I doing this? Why am I involved in this? Why am I into this? All these are some of the questions you desire to ask yourself as you do that. I said you can choose to be intentional about your direction without you knowing your final destination. I have spoken about that, giving illustration with driving, particularly for most of us that know how driving is. Even in the daytime, as you ply the highways, you might be seeing something that looks like water on the highway, which is called mirage. But then you continue moving. The moment you get closer, you discover that there's no water on the highway. Intentional living could be likened to that you don't see the end or the final destination, but yet you continue moving. Now, I said everything steps towards intentional living. Everything starts with your core value. Your core values are reasons behind your choice of direction. Now, the values Mr. A is having might not be similar with the one Mr. B is having. And which means if Mr. A is living according to his own values, Mr. B cannot dare question him as to why he's living his life according to the values he has designed for himself. But the long and short of it is that you need to ensure that whatever you have stated as your values as a person are the reasons behind every action you embark upon. What you are living in the outside must be in agreement with what your heart is saying from the inside. I said that earlier on. The English people could call that personal congruent. When your words, your thoughts, and your actions are in alignment with each other. You must not lay claim to the fact that you are this, yet you do something opposite of that. You must not call yourself a medical student, and yet your flair and your love is that in social sciences. It's not done like that. Which means whatever values, whatever you do on a daily basis should be working you towards that thing you desire to achieve in life. Identify what you want your life to communicate and contribute. Now, for you to live intentionally, you need to identify the lessons your life desire to contribute and communicate to the world. I remember in John Maxwell's book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, the law of legacy, where oftentimes when I'm given the chance to ask this question, I start by telling people, supposing this is your coffin that is lying in front of you. The Hausa men could call it makara. You are dead, rejected, binded, but that is a fact. What do you want the people that are standing to mourn you to say about you? Now, for you to live intentionally, you need to design this. Write your legacy. Identify what you want your life to communicate and contribute. So that even when you're not there, people will know that this is what he stands for. I know this person. He stood for this while alive. He is a firm person when it comes to this. These are his core values as a person. Identify that for you to live with intentionality. Find a passion to live for that is bigger than yourself. Something that is bigger than yourself. It shouldn't be just to make money. And so what? To become a medical doctor. And so what? To be an architect. And so what? To be a party chairman. Now, all of us are created to touch the life of others around us. In the community, in the society, at school, in the market, everywhere. Now, if this passion does not translate into touching the life of people, it means you have not started. That is why I said find a passion to live for that is bigger than yourself, way bigger. Something that you know that you need to involve people at the end of the day towards doing that. 2, I said accept responsibility. You will not deceive yourself that you are living intentional life without desiring to accept responsibility. I said all of us are created to touch the life of others. You have the power to make choices. Now, when things that would walk you towards your goal are presented, anybody that lives with intentionality is expected to embrace that and work towards that. Work hard and accept criticism. Even though I said all of us have our own uniqueness and wiring, all of us have things we call the ideal self according to the values we have as human beings. But it is good to accept criticism from others, to equally work hard. Criticism that are constructive are means to reshape us and give us greater focus towards achieving what we desire to achieve. Make tough choices. Now, I said that at the course of the opening session on Monday, that you cannot set a low standard for yourself and lead others. The choices you make must be tough ones, not an easy one. Not an easy one for you to be able to make a mark and also ensure that you live with intentionality. Become responsible for your life. You don't allow the external forces to control you, but you are responsible for the choices you make and the things you do. Lead your life in the direction of your desire. No matter how good it is, if it is not pointing you towards your desire, your own ideal self, you are not expected to by any means be involved in that. 3, I said, make small, repeated decisions. You are to make bite-sized daily or weekly rituals to support your values. I want to live intentionally. What do I do? How do I make it in such a way that daily, every decision I make, every turn I make, every activity walk me towards the ultimate goal? Maybe you're traveling from Bauchi to Abuja, and then instead of plying the road, Bauchi to Jos, you begin to drive towards Gombe. It means you're not making bite-sized daily decisions that will walk you towards your values or your goals. Somebody going to Abuja heading towards Gombe, it means he has not started as yet. So whatever you do should be something that would walk you towards becoming the person you desire. I said it is about making a decision every day to live a life you want every day. Every day, making decisions that would ensure that you live the life you want. I asked this question: what will I do that will point me in the direction of my dreams? It's a question that all of us need to ask myself. All of us have dreams and aspirations as young persons. What are some of the things that you and I would do on a daily basis that will point us towards the direction of our dreams? It's not something that is supposed to happen overnight. 4, I said there's no right or wrong answer. I said from the beginning, it all depends on your values as a person. It does not have a moral compass. So that Mr. A will tell you that, hey, you're on the wrong lane. What are some of the things you value? What are some of those things you value? Your value might not be the same with Mr. B. It is about being honest and doing what feels right to you. Does it make me happy? Do I feel right? Does it contribute to the ultimate goal? All these are some of the things we need to take into note. It must stem out of your personal conviction. Am I convinced that this is the right thing? Or is it because it is a popular opinion? A saying has it that just because everybody does it doesn't make it right. You need to be convinced that what you're doing is the right thing. I said it is a continuous process. It is a daily development. It doesn't develop in a day. John Maxwell could say this in the laws of 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, the law of addition. Leadership develops daily, not in a day. Now, whatever you do on a daily basis is just like investing in capital market. The more you invest, the more your investment continue growing. It's a daily thing. There is no finish line and must be in constant communication with yourself. Now, there's no finish line. It's not something that you get to a point and you tell yourself that I have arrived. There's always room for more. Just like the nursery rhymes could say, good, better, best. There's always room for you to be better than the way you are today. Keep deciding what is working and making adjustment on a daily basis. It's something that is supposed to be subjected to fine-tuning on a daily basis. Supposing you make a plan to achieve something without taking into note the COVID-19 pandemic that is a new reality. What do? You need to sit down and adjust and ensure that what you do agrees with what is happening, the current reality. It is also the same thing as it relates to this training. Initially, our trainings are physical, where we have interactions with the participants, but we have to live with the current reality, the COVID-19. That's why we're having a virtual training for this. Stop living autopilot and start living on purpose. Autopilot means allowing external forces to control you. Yes, I am alive. Whatever happens today, tomorrow is going to be Thursday. However the day presents itself, that is how I am going to go through the day. Now, you need to stop that and start living on purpose. In conclusion, now, are you thoughtful about how you spent your life? Do you sit down and begin to think about how you spend your life? How do you spend it? Do you allow happenings around you to control you? Are you the architect and the one on the driving seat of your life? Or you are allowing external forces to control you? Do you make choices that are pushing you towards your goal? Do you understand the deeper why behind the decisions you make? What are some of the reasons behind the decisions? Do you sit down to think about that? Now, I said, do you own your life? We might be alive, yes, we have chosen to be part of this training, but some of us don't own our lives because we have surrendered our choices to others. They are the ones dictating. A saying has it that the moment we surrender our choices to someone else's opinion, a part of us die. Now, permit me to say that all of us, we die. The moment you surrender the choices you have as a human being to another person, you are dead completely. We are created with the power of choice to make choices. Are you willing to stop wishing and start doing? I said from the beginning, some of us think as if it is something that will fall from the sky. I desire to do this. I want to have this. I could wake up tomorrow and become rich. I could wake up tomorrow and become a successful businessman. I could wake up tomorrow and build good relationship with people. Just like investment, you do it on a daily basis. You do the same in terms of relationship you build with people, in terms of advancing your career, in business, in terms of influencing or affecting your community. You need to stop wishing and start doing. As a Chinese saying goes, that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. It is the same thing with intentional living. Daily, small size, bite decisions will propel you towards the ideal self you desire. Thank you so very much. I was meant to understand that I have 40 minutes, and I think, thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yahaya, for this amazing uh, presentation. I believe it was rich and the delivery was great. I can also see from some of the comments in the chats. We are grateful, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is a quiz attached to this presentation, which you're going to be assessing by the end of this presentation, or at least an hour after this presentation on your portal. So please take note of that. Um, Thank you so much. Can you stop the screen share, sir? So we can go to the next one. Yeah, so we're going to be listening to this next presentation, and the next presentation is going to be by Mr. Femi Oluwafemi Ruiz. Mr. Femi Ruiz is an IT professional, self-taught web developer, author, and missional entrepreneur. After graduating as a civil engineer, he founded Basilia Innovative Solutions, an IT company that focuses on providing simple, affordable innovations to identify problems in high-impact industries of the African economy. In 2014, he co-founded Manage Soft and committed his time to training young executives and professionals on organizational computing and database management. Femi has spent years researching, developing, and experimenting practical models to integrate entrepreneurial and information technology as critical components of driving holistic change. As a writer, his articles have been featured in several journals and online publications, and he has authored several books, including Make Yourself an Asset to Earth. More, it's just $1, and 3 apes and a recession. Is something wrong with our economy or is something wrong with us? He currently serves as the head of research and implementation at BIS, that is Basilia Innovative Solutions. We're glad and excited to have Mr. Femi in the house. Mr. Femi, are you there? Let me unmute you right away. Just be patient with me. Let me do that. And also give you the opportunity to take over. Okay, Mr. Femi, over to you. You can unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Shion. Yeah. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me here at the leadership training. I see this as a leadership training, right?
Yes.
Because even though this is a youth forum, it is more or less youths who are leaders in one regard or the other. So this is a leadership training, and thank you for having me here to train these wonderful people today. Please, you'll pardon my, do I have permission to share?
Yes, you do.
Okay, you'd pardon my lighting is not so good. Just as I was preparing for this class, like they say, NEPA took light. And you see, we are talking about identifying and solving problems today. And it is sad that this is a problem that has been lingering with us as a nation for years. And I want to believe that in this class are people who will solve some of these issues that have been with us as a nation for many years. So can you see my screen? Let me turn off my video.
Yes, we can. No, I think the video is good.
Let me do without it. I want everyone to focus on the points I'm presenting here.
Okay, that is okay.
Yes. So identifying and solving problems. The learning outcome from this is, first of all, participants are going to understand the basic concept of identifying problems. Sorry, that's not process. Problems, of identifying problems, right? And apply this concept to real life situations. This is just a 45 minutes training, so we can't go into details here, but just to understand the basic and the general concept of identifying problems and apply this concept to real life situations. So let's get down to business. A few opening thoughts now. In life, you'll be remembered for either the problems you created or the problems you solved. I want you to note that. That's very important. In life, you'll be remembered for either the problems you created or the problems you solved. Those are the two things you'll be remembered for in life. If I start calling the names of famous people who have died, you would see that you remember them for either the problems they created or the problems they solved. The second opening thought I want to make is leaders solve problems they didn't create. That is what leaders do. They solve problems they didn't create. The third opening point I want to make is there is an unwritten job description for leaders, right? Wherever you find yourself as a leader, your first job description is to ensure that everything works optimally and there are no problems. That's your first job description as a leader, to ensure that everything works optimally and there are no problems at all. Your second job description is to ensure that you solve those problems if they arise. Leaders solve problems. So wherever you find yourself as a leader, your first job is to ensure that everything is working perfectly well, optimally, and there are no problems. Now your second job description is to make sure that you solve those problems if they arise. And your final third job description is to ensure that those problems never occur again. So I've said three things now. As a leader, what's the first thing you do? Make sure everything is working perfectly well. The reason why we have plenty of things not working in our system, whether you want to take it as the macro system as a nation or micro systems as your department or your community or your school, the reason why many things are not working is because there are people who have been put in place to be responsible to ensure that those things work, who are simply not doing their jobs as leaders in that little sphere where they have been placed. So your first job as a leader is to make sure everything works optimally as it is meant to work. Your second job is to make sure that if there are problems, those problems are solved immediately. And your third job is to make sure that those problems never occur again, right? So now, as we go into the first part of this course, which is identifying problems. Identifying problems. How do you identify problems? It is Albert Einstein that said, if I were given 1 hour to save the planet, I will spend 59 minutes defining the problem and 1 minute solving it. He said, if I were given 1 hour to save the planet, I'll spend 59 minutes defining the problem and 1 minute solving it. Now, why will Albert Einstein, make this type of statement? Because identifying the problem is far more important than solving it. In fact, you cannot solve a problem you haven't identified. You can't solve, forget about solving it. How can you hit a target you haven't seen? No. So you can't solve a problem you haven't identified. So identifying a problem is far more important than solving the problem. And that's why I want to see some steps here now in identifying problems. The first thing is you ask yourself, is it really a problem? Is it really a problem? Now, you see, this looks like a silly question when there's a situation at hand. But as silly as it sounds, it's a very crucial question to ask. Is it really a problem? Because in the real sense, many people congratulate themselves for solving problems that never existed. Meaning, the problem never existed, but they solved the situation. Or what they had in their hands was not a problem, it was a situation. But if you don't ask yourself, is this really a problem? You will not realize that this is not a problem, it's simply a situation. And you'll be investing time and resources in a solution that was never a problem. I remember my brother-in-law was getting married. My sister-in-law, was getting married. And this is family wedding and everybody was right there in the church. And right in the middle of the wedding, when the officiating minister, the pastor, is joining the husband and the wife, suddenly a member of the family runs and comes out and calls me out, calls my mother-in-law out, calls my wife out. He calls key people in the family, calls us out of the church, and now says, there's a big problem. This is happening in the middle of somebody's wedding. Her daughter is getting married inside, and he has called the mother out, he has called the sister out, he has called me out, and called other people out. And he says, there's a big problem. He says, I went to the reception and I saw the way they arranged the hall. When they start serving food in that place, it will be a very serious problem. There will be a very serious problem because the way they arranged the hall, and we were staying out there, spending minutes. And suddenly I just told myself, whoa. We cannot be here trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. I had to call off that meeting and we went back into the wedding. And of course, when we went for the reception, there was no problem. You see, many people, they solve situations, they don't solve problems, and they congratulate themselves for doing it. So the first question you must ask is it really a problem? And when you have clarified that it is actually a problem, the next question you ask is, what problem is it? You see, every problem must be clearly defined. You cannot deal with a problem that is vaguely defined. You cannot deal with a problem that hasn't been clearly defined. So, okay, yes, you have ascertained and you have clarified that this is a problem, right? So the next is, what problem is this? You must identify the problem. What problem is this? So when you ask yourself that question and you start brainstorming and investigating further, you will come up with answers. Notice that you're still trying to identify the problem. You have not started talking about solving it, but what problem is this? Right? So let's say, for instance, now you work in the civil service and they say, there's a situation on ground though. We notice that productivity has dropped in our ministry since we asked workers to start working from home. Right? So you ask yourself, okay, what problem is this? Is it a problem of productivity on the part of the workers? Is it a systemic problem based on monitoring of productivity and evaluation of work on the part of the department? You ask yourself these questions. What problem is this? You must clearly define the problem. And when you clearly define the problem, the next question is that you ask yourself, how, or before you even go to that, let me give you this quiz. Look at this. And of course, many people who are in management circles would do this quiz. This is a very popular quiz in management circles. There was an elevator installed in an office complex, right? And you're the manager of this office complex. And people start complaining suddenly that, oh, the elevator is too slow. The elevator is too slow. The elevator is too slow. You have to fix the elevator. The elevator is too slow. Otherwise, they are not going to renew their rent in the office complex. How will you solve the problem? Now, these are different people who have different approaches to solving this problem. But eventually, right, and this was actually a real life situation, eventually, how this problem was solved when it occurred is that the manager of the facility put mirrors in the elevator. The manager of the facility put mirrors in the elevator, and all the complaints disappeared. There was no complaint again that the elevator was slow. Now, how did the manager of the facility arrive at this solution? The manager of the facility asked, wait, is there really a problem? And after researching, he said, okay, there's a problem. People are saying that the elevator is slow. He asked, so what really is the problem? Because the fact that they say the elevator is slow doesn't make a slow elevator to be the problem. He asked, what really is the problem? He said, we wait too long in the elevator. We have to wait too long in the elevator. And what's the problem with waiting too long? The problem with waiting too long is that I'm bored. I cannot be waiting just in an elevator for 2 minutes when I know I have something to do upstairs in my office. So he now saw that it's not really a problem with the speed of my elevator. It's a problem with people who are waiting and are bored in the process of waiting. So he installed mirrors in the elevator such that when people enter the elevator, you know, they are going upstairs, they are going for an appointment, they are going to your office, they are checking their tie, is their tie properly set? They're checking their suits, is their suit well adjusted? They're checking their headgears, they're checking everything. And even when the elevator door opens that they have arrived at their floor, they are not done checking, they're still trying to adjust the tie in the mirror. So suddenly, the elevator was becoming too fast for them because they didn't even have enough time to adjust their tie inside the elevator. So you ask yourself, what really is the problem? Otherwise, if that property manager did not ask that question to really clarify the problem, he'll have started thinking of replacing the elevator altogether, changing the elevator or changing the motto of the elevator, right? But he really identified what really is the problem. It's not the elevator that is the problem. And when he clarified that and identified that, he was able to now address the real problem. And then finally, you ask yourself, whose problem is it? In identifying the problem, you ask yourself, whose problem is it? Whose problem is it? Every problem must be owned. I will repeat that again. Every problem must be owned. You see, one of the issues we have in our country right now and in Africa is that there are many problems that are not owned by anybody. Every problem must be owned. Whose problem is this? You see, the reason why power problem is still power problem is because it hasn't been owned. The day somebody gets up and say, it is my problem, right? That person is one step closer to solving it. Whose problem is power problem? Let me ask you that. Whose problem is power problem now in Nigeria? That's when I say power, I mean NEPA, light problem. Whose problem is light problem in Nigeria? Whose problem is the problem of your roads? The roads in your community, whose problem is that? Sorry, my network was quite unstable, so I had to make some adjustment on my settings. But I believe I'm back now. Leadtots, can you hear me? I had issues with my network, but Leadtots, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So whose problem is the road problem in your community? Whose problem is that? Whose problem is the water problem? Until a problem is owned, it will not be solved. Every problem must be, there are no orphan problems. That's problems that don't have owners. Whose problem is it? Whose problem is the, let me even ask you one that is close to everybody now. Whose problem is the COVID-19 problem? the COVID-19 situation. Whose problem is it? Do you know some months ago it was China's problem? About 10 months ago or 12 months ago. Do you know COVID-19 was China's problem? But suddenly ownership of the problem has changed. Every problem must be owned. That's the next thing. And then once the problem has been identified, right? The problem has been clarified and the problem has been owned, those three things, once those three things has done, then you are done with identifying the problem and you can now safely proceed to solving the problem. So now, solving problems. There are 3 default responses to solving problems that I want to share with us before we go into solving problems. Let me ask you a question. When you say a problem, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you say a problem? When you say a problem, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Now,
people are muted.
Yes, no, I don't expect audio responses.
Okay, they can respond in the chat.
These are either rhetorical questions or chat responsible questions. But I'm not expecting verbal feedback right now, right? So what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see a problem? Now, there are 3 default responses that people do with problems, right? The first default response to problem is to ignore it. And this is the default response of many Nigerians, to ignore it. You see, I can tell your default response to problems by the time I look at how the road that leads to your house, the footpath, or the motorable road, when I look at it, how that leads to right to your gate, when I look at it, I can tell the default response to problems of the people who live on that street. I can tell their default response to problems. So when I see the road and I say that this is something that a few bags of sand can take care of, then I know that the default response to problems of the people living on this street is to ignore it. So the first default response to problems that people have is to ignore it. Another default response to problem that people have is to report it. Some people, immediately they encounter a problem, the first thing that comes in their mind is, hey, this is a problem, let me report it. That is the first thing that they think about. So you encounter a situation, you encounter a problem, hey, let me report this. You pick up your phone or you send an email or you call for a meeting. Is let me report it. Reporting is the default response of some people. I had a co-worker who I was his supervisor, right? And interestingly, we were living in the same facility. So I traveled for my wedding, right? And a few days to my wedding, maybe like 2 days to my wedding, where I am busy with all the plans of my wedding. And this young man who I am his supervisor suddenly sends me a message. He is in Abuja there. Me, I've traveled all the way to the west for my wedding. He sends me a lengthy text message. And what's the content of this message? He said he was now reporting situation, the problems he has encountered in the house where we are both staying as staff. He says, no light in bulbs outside, no water in tank, no gas in cylinder. This is how he expressed the situation. No tank, no gas in cylinder, no water in tank, no light in bulb. And I told myself, I said, I am right in the middle of preparing for my wedding. I'm 2 days to my wedding. I have a lot of things to handle. And the best this guy can do is to report problems as basic as this. Now, if I'm to do an appraisal for promotion, do you think that's the type of person who will get promoted in an organization, who his default response to problems is to, and these are petty, very petty problems. His default response is to report it. As far as he's concerned, he has reported the problem. And of course, I replied him. I said, take 2,000 naira, buy water in tank, take 4,000 naira, put gas in cylinder, take 200 naira, buy bulb in light. I could not figure out how a leader would just report problems as basic as this. Now, let me tell you something. If your default approach to problems is reporting it, let me give you an advice. The first thing I'll tell you is never report a problem you haven't attempted solving. That's the first thing. Never report a problem you haven't attempted solving. As a leader, except you are just a follower, right? And I believe everybody in this class are leaders. So as a leader, never report a problem you haven't attempted solving. The next thing is never report a problem without proposing a plan to address it. Never report a problem. Once you are reporting a problem, make sure that you are proposing a plan to address that problem at the same time. So your report of the problem is also coming with a proposal for solution without proposing a plan on solving it, right? And the third default response to problem that people have is to solve it. And this is the leader's mindset. This is where I want us to get to. This is the leader's mindset. The leader's default response to problem is to solve it. As far as I'm concerned, there is nothing else you can do with problems than solve them. For me, that is my own personal conviction. I don't have any other use. Or do you have another use for problems? Maybe if you have another use for problems, people can start bringing their problems to you. But as far as I'm concerned, I only have one use for problems, and that is to solve them. I don't have a second use for them. I don't know any other thing I can do with them. Right? So the default response of leaders is to solve problems. And that now brings us to solving problems. Remember, I've seen identifying problems. So now solving problems using the what, why, how approach. Solving problems using the what, why, how approach. And this is just, now there are different problem solving models, right? And this is just a model that I put together because I found this very helpful. So there are different ones, but I want to stick with this, and it's something that our time will allow us to explore. The what, why, and how approach, right? Now, solving problems, you ask what. So, and it's good to keep asking this what question. You know, when you keep asking this what question, remember you asked it before, what problem really is this? Sometimes you might be dealing with evolving problems, meaning the problem is evolving, the problem is changing. And the more frequently you ask what, you keep track of these changes. You know, in fact, I believe right now the pandemic is an evolving problem, right? Because when they say, hey, we found vaccines and everything, suddenly they say, okay, we have a new strain of the virus has emerged, and we are not yet sure whether the vaccines we developed can act against it. We did our testing against the other virus, against the other strain of the virus. You know, it's an evolving problem. So sometimes in different situations, you might be dealing with an evolving problem. So you ask yourself, what problem is this, right? So what will reveal the problem? The next thing you ask yourself is, why? Why is this a problem? Why is this a problem? Right? So why we actually reveal the cause of the problem. When you ask yourself why, whereas what we reveal what the problem is, right? Why we reveal the cause. So why did this problem come up in the first place? Why did this problem come up in the first place? Why do we have a pandemic in our hands in the first place? Why is our roads like this in the first place? Why can't we deal? Why is there power? Why is there power for only 4 hours a day in the first place? Is there a problem with Kianji Dam? Is it a dam problem? What's the cause? Why is it like this? Why is the road around your church? Why is it like that? Why is the road around your mosque? Why is it like that? So when you ask why, you are dealing with the cause. And after you ask why, then you ask how. How can we solve this problem? How can we deal with this problem? How can we address this problem? How can we? That is when you now start dealing with the methodology, the solution. How can we address it? How can we solve it? How can we put an end to it? So you start bringing up solutions. You start brainstorming. You put your team together. You ask yourself, what's the most efficient way? How can I address this? How can this be tackled? So when you use the what question to reveal the real state of the problem, the why question to reveal the real cause of the problem. And I will advise maybe you can do some further study on your own in root cause analysis, right? That's a different branch on its own. But you ask the why question to reveal the root cause of the problem. I now ask the how question to track and develop a solution for the problem. So now, some closing thoughts before we finally tie things up. 1, the problem is not solved when a solution is found. The problem is solved when the cause is removed. The problem is not solved when a solution is found. The problem is solved when the cause is removed. That's when the problem is solved. Some people rejoice when the solution is found and when they don't see the problem. You see, the symptoms are what some people rejoice because the symptoms have disappeared, but the cause is still there. You can see the diagram I have on the screen. You can see causes are the roots, right? The problem is actually the trunk that is right above the root, and then the leaves are the symptoms. So what some people do is that they deal with the leaves. The problem is still there. Some people, they deal with the leaves and they deal with the tree trunk. They deal with the trunk. That's the symptoms and the problem. But the root is still there. The cause is still there. So the problem is not solved when a solution is found. The problem is solved when the cause is removed. I remember there was a time I was constantly having a flat tire, right? So I had this flat tire. I drive over to the vulcanizer. I get some air. And 2 days later, again, the tire is going down. I'm driving to work. I stop over at the vulcanizer, get some air. 2 days time, the tire is going down. As I'm driving to work, I stop over. Now, have I solved my flat tire problem simply because I'm still driving my car around and the car hasn't stopped me? No. Until I now asked myself, whoa, what is the cause? What is the cause? And it turned out that there is something they also have put around the rim of the tire in order to keep air from leaking that wasn't properly done. And until that was done, the cause was taken care of. That is when the problem was solved. Right? So the problem is not solved when the solution is found. It is solved when the cause is removed. Next closing thought is you should, as a leader, always develop a reoccurrence reduction measure. Right? Make sure you develop reoccurrence reduction measures. Reoccurrence reduction measures, meaning you build systems. Apart from solving a problem, you see, leaders don't go to sleep after solving a problem. The next thing leaders do after solving a problem is that they build systems that will ensure that the reoccurrence possibility of that problem is as close to zero as possible. They will build systems within the organization, build systems within their community, build systems within their families, build systems within their personal lives to ensure that the reoccurrence probability of that problem is reduced to zero if possible. So you must develop reoccurrence reduction measures after solving a problem. And the third thing I'll tell you is don't rely on committees. As a leader, you will be occupying different offices in the future, right? And some of you are already occupying some public offices now. When you want to really get the solution to a problem, my advice to you is don't rely on committees. When you see, I checked up the dictionary definition of committee when I was preparing my notes. And interestingly, in the dictionary I checked up, they now put a quotation there after defining what a committee is. They put a quotation there as an illustration of how the word committee can be used in a sentence. And you know the quotation they put there? They said, a committee is a group of people that keep minutes and waste hours. A committee is a group of people that keep minutes and waste hours. Don't rely on committees. Committees generate more minutes than solutions. If what you're looking for is minutes of meetings, then you can set up committee. If what you're looking for solution, don't rely on committees. Committees will generate minutes and memos, not solution. What you should do is to rely on teams. You should build a team, not a committee. Actually, in the real sense, a committee is actually a group of people brought together to look into a matter. That is what a committee is. Is that what you're looking for? Are you looking for people who will look into a matter? You're looking for people who will come up with a solution, who will solve a matter, not look into it. So rather than commission a committee, right? Build a team, commission a team, set up a team where each person has 100% responsibility for a particular fraction of the solution. That is how you get problem solved when you're dealing with people. Set up a team where each person has 100% responsibility for a particular aspect of the solution. 100% responsibility for a particular aspect of the entire solution, for a particular corner of the solution. Each person has 100% responsibility for a particular corner of the solution, a particular aspect of the solution. So don't rely on committees, rather build teams, rely on teams. So finally now, you would have in the portal, there's a quiz that you take in the portal, and part of the quiz is this, right? It has been noticed that members of your community have not been keeping to the COVID-19 guidelines in spite of all efforts to enforce compliance. You have just been appointed community leader, and this is the first matter on your desk. Using the problem-solving model taught in this module, right, address the situation. How will you address the situation? So thank you very much, young men and women. I believe one day you would actually find yourself in a situation and in a position and in offices where matters as serious as this will actually be resting on your desk. Now it's just an assignment, but one day you actually find yourself in real life situations where matters as serious as this will be resting on your desk, and the onus will be on you to solve it. And it is my hope and my earnest desire that you will not fail us, you will not fail Leadtots, you will not fail this academy, and above all, you will not fail yourself and your community and the people who have trusted you with the office that has been given to you. Thank you very much and have a very wonderful day.
Now, thank you so much, Mr. Femi. It's exciting to listen to you. It was an amazing and short presentation. I believe for everybody here, I've learned a lot. Everybody have learned a lot. We'll go to the last session. Can you share the last slide again so that people can take note of the question? Then kindly copy the question and share on the chat also. We'll be expecting to get feedback on this assignment. On the online portal, there's going to be a forum, a place for a forum where you're to share. This is how the assignment is going to be. When you have done this, when you have identified the problems and come up with solutions on how to solve those problems, we want you to go to your forum on that particular course, Transformational Leadership. Share your thoughts, and then when you share your thoughts, you go to the thoughts, you look at other participants' thoughts, and you comment on at least 5 of them. I'm going to be sharing the details later with us, so we don't overstretch the session. Mr. Femi, is that okay by you?
Yes, that's fine. That's perfect.
Okay, so that's fine. Thank you so much. You can now edit, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We'll just listen to the last presentation right away. The last presentation is going to all be by Mr. Yahya. Mr. Yahya is coming back to take the last presentation. It's going to be on reproducing leaders. You see, as an organization, we are committed to reproducing leaders. We are committed to raising leaders, not raising followers. And that's why this session is very important to us. And there's no better person to do that right now than Mr. Yahya Galadima. Can we welcome Mr. Yahya Galadima on board? Mr. Yahya, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, very well, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Good afternoon once again. Permit me that the video is off for now. I'm sure.
Okay. It's okay, sir. Meanwhile, okay. Pardon, sir. I think you don't have a profile picture to display on the video.
Okay.
Yet. So I don't know if you can still put on the video.
My battery is down. I have to be putting on the gen, so the sound might be interfering. The noise from sound from the gen.
Okay, it's okay. Go ahead then.
Good afternoon, all.
Can you share the screen?
Okay. I thought it's shared.
Okay, not yet.
Okay. Sorry, I'm coming. Is it shared? Show? Is it shared? Sharon, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me, Sharon?
I can hear you, sir. I can hear you.
Is the screen displayed?
No, not yet. Let me find out from others. Okay, not yet, sir. You just go to the screen on the place of the share screen. Then you double click on the presentation. Okay, one thing you need to also do is that it's possible your previous presentation is still on the presenter mode, that is on the slideshow mode. So you press escape. You click on it, press escape to move out.
I'm sure it's not. Hello, can you help me with this, Sean?
Okay, yes, I can. Okay. Okay, what's it displaying? Okay, can you go to the share screen, sir?
I'm there.
Go to the share screen. Okay, click on the place that shows screen. Just double click it, click it. Are you double clicking? Double click it. Okay, so you start sharing your screen.
Okay.
Yes. So what you need to do is to go up, slideshow. Are you seeing the slideshow? Up. Have you seen it? Up.
Sorry.
Okay, the other side. Keep going. Yes, slideshow. No, not there. Keep going up. Yes, keep going, keep going. Towards your right. You see towards the middle of the system. Slideshow.
Is it new slide? I've seen new slide.
No, not new slide. Slideshow. You see it up. Yes, on that home, insert, design. Have you seen home, insert,
yes.
design, transition, animations? Yes, you've seen slideshow. After animations. So click on the slideshow.
Okay.
Click on it.
Another window is displaying.
Okay.
You can only see mute.
No, click on the slideshow.
The slideshow is not displaying.
Okay. Okay, what you need to do is to
share.
go back to the tags bar. No, not share. The first, your first presentation is what is showing.
Okay.
Yeah, so you need to end that one or close it. So you can check it at the tags bar. That is where you select the window.
Is it still there?
Okay, I'm looking at your screen now.
What do you see on my screen?
So you check. I'm seeing your reproducing leaders slide. So at the top, okay, come to the bottom. Come to the bottom. Yes, beside you see something like a cup. Have you seen an icon like a cup?
At the bottom.
At the bottom, keep going. No, towards the other side.
Which side?
No, the other side.
This way.
Yes, the next one. The next one.
This one.
The next one. The next one.
This one.
The next one. Yes, this one. Click on it. Yes, click on it. Yes. Okay, that's fine. So I'm seeing your screen now.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon,
so,
all.
Over to you, sir.
Afternoon, all.
Afternoon once again, sir. Afternoon. They can't hear. Only me can hear you.
Okay, sure. They can't hear. Is it that they can't respond or they can't hear?
Okay, they can't respond. Sorry.
Oh, so better.
Because they are all muted.
So thank you. Afternoon. I have to rely on our own Satya Nadella for help. You know, Shion is somebody that has more than enough to offer. We're so glad to have you. The next session is tagged Reproducing Leaders. Reproducing Leaders. Now, whenever the issue of leadership is mentioned, a lot of people shy away from it, thinking that leadership is meant for the selected few. We tend to look at people that are occupying leadership positions based on appointment, election, nomination, and so on and so forth, forgetting that the worst thing that could happen to us is to lead our lives. That is the least form of leadership that one could have, that each and every person is leading his life. I remember the story shared by John C. Maxwell in his book, Good Leaders Ask Great Questions, where a man was in one village like that, and he went through the village, and at a point in time, he met an elderly person, and he asked, is there any great leader that was born in this town? And the elderly person responded by saying, no, we only have babies. Now, what he was trying to communicate to him is that no matter who you are, or how highly placed you are, or how big or how great you are, you were born a baby. And then some of those talents and skills and giftings that we begin to see made manifest in people's life begin to show as the person advance in age. So it is also the same thing with leadership. Even though some of us study has it that are born with leadership bias, but leadership is something that you could develop and learn over time. Nobody could say that he is a natural born leader. He was born a leader, and then he doesn't sit down to build himself and develop himself along that line, and he ends up becoming a good leader. All of us were born as babies, but we need to develop these traits, these innate traits that we have in us, giftings and talents we are endowed with by the Creator. Now, at the end of this particular session, we should be able to know what is leadership, define transformational leadership, and know the steps toward transformational leadership. Now, leadership could mean different things to different people. Others tag leadership as a position, a title, a rank. Anybody occupying leadership position for others is said to be a leader. He is the president of a country. He is the president of my student union. He is my Angwa, the community head, the ward head. He is the political party chairman. He is the course coordinator. He is the dean student affairs. She is the leader market woman. She is the woman leader. She is the sisters coordinator. She is the Amira, and so on and so forth. And people tend to tag this to leadership. Yes, they are occupying positions at the moment, but that could not be termed as leadership. Introduction. Regardless of your role, age, stage, you should be thinking about developing someone to take your place. I'm talking about those having leadership positions. The fact is, as the topic goes, reproducing leaders, I was meant to understand that we're not talking to novice. We're talking to people that have been occupying leadership positions in various places. People that somehow, either by election, by appointment, by commission or omission, or whatever form of selection, they are occupying leadership positions. And I said, regardless of the age and the role, you should be thinking about developing someone to take your place. Leaders are originally designed to lead people and hand over the mantle of leadership to others to take over where they are going to stop. A saying has it that you have not succeeded until your successor succeeds. Our investment in others shouldn't be an escape plan. I'm not trying to bring up this for us to be able to begin to look at escape plans for ourselves that are occupying leadership positions. Sometimes we transfer our failures, our inadequacies, our own insecurities to others in the name of trying to groom them as leaders. I'm not talking about that. But I am saying that we are expected to free ourselves and go for a higher calling. Just as I said earlier on, that there's always room for more. There's always this thing that a leader would ask, what is next? So you are expected as a leader to think of developing another person, not as a means of escape plan, but rather to groom him to take over for you to do things that are of higher value. There is always something next, just as I have said, and we should be ready to answer the call. When the call comes for a higher calling, what is next? Who would gladly fit into your shoes and handle the things you have been doing? That's possible if only we have done the work of preparing someone to take our place. Now, leadership means constantly lifting the lead on ourselves so we can lift the lead on people. Now, in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, John Maxwell likened our own limitations as individuals as the lead, something that limits us. Some of those things are things that we could not be able to lift by ourselves, that others could help us lift. Some of those things are as a result of ignorance because we were not trained along that line. We were not exposed to situations like that. And that is why I said leadership means constantly lifting this lead so that you raise people, you equip them, you give them the requisite knowledge and skills on people, constantly lifting the lead on ourselves so that we could lift the lead on others. Unless you lift the lead on yourself, you might not be able to lift the lead on others. It is as good as a blind leading blind. Unless you can see, you will not be able to lead the blind effectively. Now, I call it leadership reproduction circle, where you lift and others yourself so you could lift others and they would in turn lift others. Now, growing leaders grow leaders. Growing leaders grow leaders, which I am saying in essence, except you have made it a constant habit for you to grow, to improve yourself, to develop yourself, to build yourself, you cannot grow leaders. I hope you are following. As a leader that desires growth, you need to be constantly growing for you to be able to grow leaders. It's just the nature of the role. You cannot be static and expect people to follow you. You need to be constantly improving yourself, constantly updating yourself, constantly giving them something more. That is how you grow others. There can never be enough leaders. Now, we all talk about problems, problem solving, as the last facilitator said. We see problems around us in a lot of places, in various facets of our lives. Now, there can never be enough leaders to take care of these problems and solve them. We're not talking about committees, as he said, that can offer solutions to this without actually trying to solve them. Not committees that would come up with communique, or maybe meetings or conferences that would come up with communiques that would just be swept under the carpet. But we are talking about leaders that will champion cause to better the life of human people around them. Now, hence the need for reproduction of leaders, because there can never be enough leaders. Nothing suffocates potential leaders like senior leaders who cease to grow. Now, in the law of the lead, it is typically specifically saying that if you don't grow, the members of your group cannot grow. Now, in essence, there are some decisions that are meant to be taken on behalf of the group, which is solely vested on the table of the leader as a person. If that leader did not build his capacity, no matter how good the members are, the leader suffocates them. That is why I said nothing suffocates potential leaders, like people that are in the senior level of leadership that are refusing to grow. Unless you shift your position to a higher position, no person in your group can come to the position where you are. I love giving this illustration with certificates in the primary school that almost all of us attending this training attended. The highest certificate that a primary school could offer is the primary school living certificate. Now, for them to be able to offer a certificate higher than that, it means the school needs to be upgraded into a secondary school, which will be awarding senior secondary school certificate, or maybe a university or a polytechnic or monotechnic that will be administering certificates that are higher than that of the primary. So for you to be able to grow leaders, you need to step up so that you don't suffocate the people that are under you. Transformational leadership. Now, it's inspired through activating follower self-sufficiency so that followers believe they can go beyond expectation. Now, this is gotten from one Bath and Farkas and Vera. You could glean on this and for further study. Now, a transformational leader is key component or the important construct in transformational leadership is charisma. Sociologists could say charisma is a form of social authority. Social in the sense that it's not a formal authority that you get. That is why even in our circles, you hear people saying that this person is charismatic, the other person is not. It's not something you learn in school. It's not something that you sit in conferences like this to lead. It is a form of social authority that stems out of the person and begin to resonate around the area, which would earn the person respect, which will begin to increase the person's followership. Transformational leaders drive their legitimacy through their behavior and character rather than through formal positions. The term transformational leaders is talking about a leader that leads by example, somebody that becomes the kind of person that you desire to see. They don't fight or struggle for such positions, but they are people that lead through their behavior and character. 4 main components of transformational leadership. There are 4 components of transformational leadership, which are individualized consideration. Now, individualized consideration is simply talking about the extent to which a leader attends to followers' needs. Now, as a leader, you are not supposed to give a straitjacket dealing to the members of your group. In the laws of addition, leaders add value by serving others. That's in the book 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. Now, which means you may be having a number of persons in your group, let's say 10. You are not expected to think as a leader, you treat each and every person equally, because we are all created with our own uniqueness and originality. As a leader, you're supposed to go outside the bounds. That is why I said transformational leadership has to do with a leader using what? His social authority, not formal authority as a person. So, which means you need to go outside your bounds to be able to know the people you are leading in order to attend to them according to their needs. Providing empathy and support. I said such leaders are aware of the unique talent that each follower has. Now, each and every team member you have in your group has something unique that he or she brings on the table. How are you supposed to, as a leader, tap from this gifting, this skill, this talent that this person has? It is your duty to consider each and every person in his own uniqueness, so as to be able to tap the potential of each and every member of your group. So one of the components is individualized consideration. A transformational leader is supposed to treat each and every person individually, not a straitjacket treatment. The second one, I said inspirational motivation, which is the degree to which a leader articulates an appealing vision that inspires or motivates others. A leader is expected to do what? To articulate the vision so that it will be appealing. I don't want to believe if you're a general in the army and you're mobilizing your soldiers to war, what you need to do is to be showing them casualties on your part and telling them that the other side you're going to confront are stronger with more firearms, superior firearms than your own. A leader is supposed to articulate an appealing vision and ensure that each and every member sees the vision and believe that it's something that resonates with him as a person. It motivates them to perform beyond expectation and know that they are held in high esteem and they are expected to do it, to do more than what they are doing. He said, such leaders have high standard and expectations for their followers. Whenever they paint this appealing vision, they have high standards. They encourage them, making them understand that they have the capacity to do more. In continuation again, idealized influence. Leaders who show idealized influence are role models. Ideal influence, from the word ideal. This is the kind of life I desire to see. All of us have values. We spoke about intentional living. Now, if there are things you have coined down in your ideal life, if there are things you have coined down, you see somebody living your ideal life, coming closer to the person. So he influences you and makes you want to be part of, want to follow him and be part of his team. They engage in high standards of ethical behavior. Followers identify with these leaders and want to emulate, just as I have said. Is also talking about idealized influence. Followers usually place a great deal of trust on such kind of people that have idealized influence. An ideal self, my ideal self is seen in Mr. A. I will do everything humanly possible to get close to him in order to glean on some of the tips and the nuggets I require in order to be the kind of person I desire. Intellectual stimulation. It is the extent to which leaders challenge assumptions, take risk, and solicit followers' ideas. How they harness the ideas of these followers, take risk, challenge the status quo. All these are intellectual stimulation. You sit down and you brainstorm. How do you do this? How do we exceed limit? How do we break these stereotypes? All these are some of the things. They recognize followers through stimulation, creativity, and innovation. They believe that each and every person has a uniqueness. How can you be innovative? How can you be creative in problem solving? Now, if you are a leader, you need to be pouring into other leaders. And if you're a leader in a senior level, this has its challenges. Now, it is a fact that cannot be contested that the moment you don't train leaders, whatever vision you carry will not stand the test of time. So as a leader, you need to be pouring yourself out to others, building them up. A saying has it that you should never leave an empty chair as a leader. I am not talking about bringing in somebody that we normally witness in political space, whether the person fits the bill or not. He is my boy. He is somebody that is under me that I can control. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about leaders that are actually working for the cause of the people, pouring their entire being into others in order to train them to take over when they are not there. Now, some of the challenges you face in trying to train leaders is the challenge of time and the variety. Variety is talking about the medium in which these people would be able to take on some of these coaching lessons that you'll be giving them. Now, just as I said from the beginning that you cannot stereotype people, the way Mr. A would be able to take on sessions of mentoring under me might not be exactly the same with the other person. It is your duty to know what works best for Mr. A and what works best for Mr. B in order to be able to pour out yourself into them. Now, it is also another challenge of time. Most of the leaders that would want to pour out their lives to others are struggling with time. They are struggling with time. Unless you rise to a position of leadership, you cannot be able to develop other leaders. In the book, 5 Levels of Leadership, which I would encourage each and every participant to get a copy and study, there are 5 levels of leadership. The first level is the position, which I want to believe some of us that are attending this training are here based on the fact that we have positions of leadership. Now, in position, it is stated that it is only right that you are given the platform to lead. It's as good as saying we have seen this gifting, this talent, this skill in you. We want you to come and prove to us that you have that. Position is just a title. It is a rank. It will be way out of place for you to be thinking as if just because you have a position that you are a leader. Now, the next one is permission, which has to do with the way you influence people. How do you influence them? How do you minister to their needs? How do you touch their hearts in such a way that they see you, they can confide in you? Which is the level 2 in the 5 levels of leadership. And the third one is the production. Production spoke about the things you have done as a person. What are some of the things you have achieved as a leader? What have you done? What success story do you have to bring on the table? And then we have people development. How many people have you mentored? Have you improved? Have you encouraged towards building themselves in leadership positions? People follow people in people development because of what you have done for them. You have done a lot in building them. It could be in terms of career. You might be a student that is in year 4, and then somebody is coming that is in year 1. You have given him mentoring and coaching and have taken him under your wings in order to pour out what you think you know. He has gone from year 1, year 2, and he could point at a lot of things he has achieved as a student, which were due to the things you have done for him. That is the level 4. Now, and the final level in the 5 levels of leadership is pinnacle. People follow because of who you are and what you represent. What are the things you represent as a person? Who are you? Where whenever issues around this are mentioned, the whole world could say that this is Mr. A and this is what he stands for. Now, for you to be able to train leaders and build other leaders, you need to strive towards going up, climbing up the stairs of these 5 levels of leadership. Is a book I would recommend for each and everyone attending this for further studies. I said, your leadership may be unofficial or just a matter of your own high standard of excellence, where the issue of charisma is mentioned. You don't have a formal authority. Regardless, you are to continue to pour into people around you. You are enjoined and encouraged to pour to people around you. You are not expected to hold whatever lessons you have on leadership. You institutionalize whatever lesson you are learning once you try to pour out to others. You stretch your leadership muscle in order to try to train others to become who you are. You don't need a title, a rank, or a position or an office to lead. Leadership, I said, is influence. Now, it might not be, it's possible it wasn't arranged in sequential order, but leadership is simply put as influence. Your own ability to influence others in such a way that even if you don't have a position, an office, a title, or a rank, people respect you. People want to follow you. People believe in you as a person and want to stake their lives for what you believe in. Remember, you can never be a leader if you don't choose to become a learner. Leaders are people that learn daily. As the saying goes, leadership develops daily, not in a day. Now, how do you get leaders that you are expected to train and develop? I said, look for potential leaders. Look for people who mirror your best efforts. Now, what are some of the things you value? If your entire being is working towards building yourself towards some of the things you value, what are some of the things you see in people that mirror those values you are willing to stake your life for? People who buy into your vision. Now, you are not expected to believe in something and then be forcing somebody that doesn't believe in such vision to learn under you. It's not possible. It's as good as a medical student saying that he wants to give tutorial to people that are reading theater arts. It's not possible. Now, look for people who mirror your best. Now, these are some of the things you value. Who and who amongst the people that best describe that are willing, that are also in love with that? Potential leaders ask great questions. They want to offer their ideas when working together as a team. These are some of the things you need to look out for. As the team converges for meetings, for brainstormings, for discussions, you need to be pointing out some of those potential leaders that love asking great questions. Remember, in the book, Good Leaders Ask Great Questions, John Maxwell put together a catalog of questions that leaders are expected to be asking. For us to become great leaders, there's a need for us to ask relevant questions. Now, you need to be on the lookout for people like that in your group that ask questions, relevant questions, great questions, that spur further studies, that spur commitments. These are the kind of people you need to pour in yourself to train them as leaders. People that are committed to the team's success than their own agenda. What is a team? A team is simply defined as a group of people with divergent skills working for the same goal. People that are mindful of the goal, not the role. So which means you need to look out for people that are not all out to push their own agenda against the team's success. These are the kind of people that you need to train and develop to take over. They encourage others to grow in their strengths and sharpen their skills. You may discover that some of them are not there yet, but they encourage others to grow in their strengths. Mentor and developing leaders. Mentor developing leaders. These are the second steps you need to take. Having identified those kind of leaders, the next step is to be intentional with your time in mentoring them. Now, it shouldn't be something that is just like a flash in the pan, something that happened based on happenstance, but it is something that you are expected to do intentionally in order to do it, to help them become better leaders. Make it a priority to develop other leaders. Hands off some of those pressing tasks to one of those leaders you are mentoring. How do you know that you are mentoring a leader when you hand over some of those tasks? By so doing, you are relieving yourself for greater calling, greater things. You don't begin to mentor and continue to mentor without allowing the person to take on some tasks and see whether he is good at what you're doing. Don't be afraid to show someone else how to do what you do. A lot of us are sitting on what is making us succeed as leaders because we're thinking as if taking on some people under our wings and making them know what we know is a way of trying to displace us. Now, for me, if you have not trained somebody enough to take over from you, it means you have failed in your responsibility as a leader. The sooner they can do your job, the sooner you are freed up to do something greater. Yes, the sooner you have people in your team that can do your job, the sooner you are freed up to do something greater. Conclusion: the highest leadership accomplishment is developing other leaders. A good leader never leaves an empty chair. Now, you are on the way to failure if you have not developed others that will take over from you. Remember, unless you walk towards the height in leadership position, going through the position, the permission, the production, people development, building and developing other leaders would be a very difficult task for you as a person. Remember, leaders are learners. They are people that are always learning. There is no finish line when it comes to leadership. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for that powerful session. I've just been following with keen interest. Um, like you are aware, producing leaders is one of my favorite topics when it comes to leadership. So I'm excited following all what you're sharing. And as you were sharing, I know there will be a group work also, similar to first one, that we might also share with the participants.
Sure.
Thank you so much for that time. Uh, like you rightly said, great leaders empower people. We are in a society where people are afraid of empowering themselves. Last week, we state legislators doing the training, and we're asking why is it that during campaigns, the state legislators they match forces with the federal legislators, those contest for reps, senate, and even the governor for campaign. And after it has the winning has been after they've won, they don't work together again. So we realize that it's this problem of empowerment. Politicians don't like having people better than them around them to the point of empowerment. I want to appreciate you for committing your effort to build our capacity in that line. Thank you so much, sir. Hello. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody. We are working to stick to time. Usually, like we said, each of the session is not supposed to exceed 2 hours, 20 minutes. If you check your invites later, it's clearly written. We've just spent 2 hours, 9 minutes, though we even started late. So I want to appreciate all of you for your patience. From the beginning to the end, I've seen many of us consistently stayed. This video, we're going to be working on it and share it on the portals and also share the link on our groups so that some of us can follow and be part of it. Um, you need to follow and then respond to the questions on the quiz. So I think we'll call it a date today. I don't know if there's anybody with any question. Mr. Femi's question will also be shared on the group and it will be shared on the portal for you to respond to. What I said is that concerning Mr. Femi's question, he's asking you to identify a particular problem and also what you think should be the solution. Then you requested that you share. So what requesting you do is that when you have identified the question and the solution, you post it on the forum. The portal has a place for forum. expect you to post your response there. And then after posting your response, we want you to go to other people's response, identify 5 different people's response, and then also respond or talk about their responses. We expect others also to talk about yours. That is one of the practical sessions we're going to be doing in respect to what we learned earlier. Thank you very much for your time. Let me share this screen here, the screen of our next session. Um, Permit me to make an adjustment on the timing for this next session. We're supposed to have a session on Friday, but the facilitators are requesting that they bring it back to Thursday because of their tight schedule, like I mentioned in our last meeting. So we're going to be having advocacy and community mobilization for change, where we'll be specifically considering program and active organizing, communicating and tracking change. Then we'll look at community mobilization and coalition building. Uh, if time permits, we'll look at issues around advocacy for change. Mr. Emmanuel Alkumba is going to be with us. Mr. Emmanuel is a performance expert. He's one of the best MIE persons that I know in the country. And we're glad that he's going to be with us to lead the process of our learning. So I want to encourage all of us to participate in it. I tried sharing this particular program on this chat room and it failed because of network. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to be sharing it on our WhatsApp group and also sending it via email to each and every one of us. So let's make it a date with us uh, tomorrow. If there's any shift in dates, I will communicate us as soon as we can. All these presentations are going to be on the portal, so you can view them and watch them on the portal. I also want to ensure that all of you sign attendance sheets. Attendance has been pasted here. Many of us have signed. Few of us are yet to sign. Let me see. Currently, we have 35 people who have signed, and I saw close to 80 something people, I guess, who came online and left. So please, before you leave, try and sign the attendance sheets. Like we said, 85% participation is key. We don't just want you to come, sign attendance sheet and leave. Uh, like some people might thinking, towards the end of the meeting, attendance will always be shared. So let me join the meeting towards the end to sign attendance. Well, you'll be shocked because one day you just see that attendance was given within the first 30 minutes of the training. So I want to encourage us to work on it and sign attendance sheet. Okay, the last one, I'm only seeing one hand. That is Baba Muhammad Isa. You can unmute yourself now and speak. Baba, I'm with you now. So you can speak. I've unmuted you.
So thank you. Hello, thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome, Baba.
Well, thank you very much, sir. I'm very glad to meet the dignitaries and the special personalities to me we're enjoying this session. I am Baba Muhammad Isa by name from Yobe, Yogeda, Yobe Young Generation Development Association, admin officer. So this is my first time of having a very wonderful and enjoyable educative session in my life, because I was being opportune to attend Leadtots program in Damatru. It was 2018, and now I attended the Leadtots program for the second time. But this one is very, very educative and very impact to my life and my also capacity building toward the achievement of a certainty that can promote my community and my shared life. But I need more clarification from Mr. Olao Temi under the issue of solving problem, the issue of committee. Can I get more clarification between the committee and the team? As he said, we should do not rely on committee when we are solving the problem, but we need to emphasize on building a strong team. So I need more clarification between two.
Okay, Mr. Mohammed, thank you very much for your question. Mr. Femi is offline.
The committee and the team.
Okay, can you hear me now? So what I'm saying is Mr. Femi is already offline, but what you do is on the portal, just put your question through and he'll be there to respond. Meanwhile, to just attempt it, a team is something that is sustainable. A committee is not something that is sustainable because a committee have a lifespan of work that they do. So anytime you're thinking of something more sustainable, build a team. A committee deals more of minutes like he shared, and a team want to solve a problem. Then again, committees are people that are not always conversant with themselves. So if you're not conversant with yourself, sometimes solving a problem can be difficult. While a team is actually people that are bind together by a common goal and they are committed to strengthening themselves because they believe that the weakest member among them is the entire strength of the team. So what they will do is they commit to building the entire every weak member and supporting themselves to come up. So its committee can be transactional in the way they approach problems, but a team is transformational, just like Mr. Yahya shared earlier. So I will end there. There are so many things we can share, but time will not permit us to do that. Let's the conversation continue on our forum. Okay, the last person I'm seeing his name here is Matthew. Matthew, over to you quickly as we plan to round up. Yes, Matthew.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Matthew.
Seriously, it's a great privilege and honor partaking in this wonderful and glorious group, and it's much impactful. I'm really blessed and inspired so much as a leader, and making also specifically to my organization. And presently, as you are bringing out these slides, I was also jotting it down for me to make use of it also for a SPSS and step down tomorrow to my organization. Here is for me to do my registration on portal. Though I missed the email that was sent to me for me to register in the portal. So I don't know if you can help me and so maybe send me the link so that I can register. I can through in the portal proper. But all necessary other things I've been partaking. All the advocacy, all courses I have done that, but just the portal I have not been able to register. Please.
Okay, so those things are actually on the portal. So maybe what you do is send a chat to me or to Mrs. Bashira on the WhatsApp platform. Then she will help you out. Is it okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. David.
Yeah,
that is the place we're going to be ending today. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. I believe all of you enjoyed yourself.